Hi, everyone. Welcome back from winter break. I hope you had a safe and restful winter break. My name is Alexis Gomez. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I work in the Career Center here at CSU as a career education coordinator. So I'm one of the liaisons for AAC. So if any have questions regarding and professional development, all of that, I'm your person. So resume, interviewing, negotiation, job search, exploring majors or exploring careers, even grad school. I'm here to support you with all of that. But today, the short video will be about salary negotiation and just negotiation in general upon your first job after you graduate, or maybe it might not be your first job after graduating, but once you graduate and how to negotiate. So, we'll start with a little bit about why the importance of negotiation. I always think it's really important to negotiate in general, but particularly being like a first gen graduate, it's really important. I've negotiated twice in my life. And then there are several times where I didn't negotiate and I really regret doing that. And so I want to make sure, and I just didn't know how to do it. And I was very intimidated by the process. So I want to give you some tips, tricks, and some even specific wording on how to negotiate what you're worth, essentially. So why negotiation is important. So you deserve to be compensated fairly upon your industry and just in general, the standards of what you're going to get paid. And let's just be real, there are pay inequities within our society. And although individually we can't change it systemically, we can advocate for ourselves upon, and negotiation is one of the ways that we can, I guess, narrow down those inequities. So advocate for yourself because you're worth it. The third thing I like to point out is most employers expect you to negotiate. So sometimes people give you a lower number than what they anticipate giving you because they anticipate you negotiating. So let's say, they have a budget of paying you $44,000 a year, but they give you, but they tell you up front, oh, $42,000 is your starting salary. And if you don't negotiate that, now you just potentially missed out at $2,000. So most employers anticipate you negotiating. So that hopefully makes it less intimidating or less scary. People anticipate and expect you to negotiate. And it's a very low risk, high rewarding activity. Again, people expect you to do this, anticipate you to do this. So might as well kind of practice and ask for the things that you want and need. And then your current salary impacts your next salary. So typically you do get salary increases typically once a year to help with like inflation. So let's say you got a salary of $50,000 each year, you predict about 2% increase every year. If you could have gotten $50,000 a year if you negotiated 55, now you're getting 2% more of 55 versus getting 2% more of 50,000. Which is a huge difference. So by potentially you not negotiating on your initial offer when you first get a job, you might actually be losing more money throughout the time that you're at the company because you get a percentage of your initial salary increased every year. Sometimes it's every year, sometimes every 2 years, etc. And then it shows your employers they're confident your skill set and understanding your value of an employee. And then something that's really important, every time you negotiate, get more comfortable with it. Again, I haven't had as many opportunities to negotiate. I still find it a little intimidating, but I'm noticing that I'm getting more confident and it's becoming more easy. So practice. few things to know about salary is based on 4 things. First is your assessment of capabilities, or just the things that you bring to the table. So for example, if a job description has a preferred qualification section and says, to be bilingual in Spanish and to also have, a bachelor's degree in social work. So they're going to measure your salary based on if you meet those qualifications or they're beyond or exceed those preferred or minimum qualifications. So it is a little bit about your assessments of capability and what they need as well. The employer's budget. One time I couldn't negotiate my salary because they gave me the max amount they could because of their budget, but I negotiated other things. So salary is also based on employer's budget. A lot of employers want to pay you more, but just can't. So making sure that there are other things that you can negotiate, like start date, moving expenses, etc. And then market rates on the job. So salary is based on the location that you're at, the location where the job is located, and then what other people are getting paid in that area, in that particular field, in that particular industry, right? For profit, nonprofit, etc. And then lastly, your ability to negotiate. And so this is one thing that you do have agency over. And so it's important for you to use it. So I get this question a lot, like, when do you negotiate benefits and salary? The most common is to do it upon a job offer. Typically people, if you get a job offer, you'll either get it on the phone or email and give you the weekend or up to 2 weeks to decide if you want the role. And so upon job offer is typically when, after the interview, when they give you a job offer, that's when you negotiate. However, there are other times to negotiate as well. So it could be during a performance review. So let's say you've worked there for several years and you feel like you're getting more responsibility, or you're short staffed or whatever it is, and you feel like you are worth a little bit more, want to get compensated fairly. That's another time to ask for to negotiate your salary or your benefits. And then again, technically, whenever it feels appropriate. One time in grad school, one of my boss left and I had to take some of his responsibilities, and knowing that there was, they weren't paying someone, full-time salary. I know they had extra money in their budget. And so I advocated not for more funding, but to have my last semester be paid for. So it saved me $10,000 in student loan debt. So that's, and that was just in a random October, right? So it wasn't upon a job entry. It wasn't upon a performance review. It was just the circumstance of what was happening in that office. So again, there are different times and what you ever feel appropriate to negotiate your salary or your benefits. So once you receive the offer, these are some general, I don't want to say rules because they feel so concrete, but some things to consider. So once receiving the job offer, we ask folks to not accept or reject the offer right on the spot. Even if it's like your dream job and you're like, oh my gosh, this is what I want. It's still best practice to not accept it right on the spot. So it gives you time to think about it, talk to your family about it, and what your needs and wants are. But do express excitement and gratitude by not saying yes on the spot. Doesn't mean that you're not grateful, or doesn't mean that you're not interested. Again, this is pretty standard practice across industries, so people will understand. So ask the employer for a reasonable amount of time. I put 24 to 48 hours, but depending on the industry and depending on the job, you can ask up to 2 weeks to consider the job. I've had folks being like, well, I have this other job that I think is better, but I won't know for another 6 weeks. Can I ask for 6 weeks? After 2 weeks, it doesn't look good. And the employer will kind of lose a little bit of trust, and your relationship potentially might be a little bit more rocky. So up to 2 weeks, 48 hours to 2 weeks is the general standard to consider the offer. And then check on your support system and consider whether you want the position. The first job I got after college, I called my mom and I was like, "What do you think, Mom? should I take it or should I not?" And she was like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know." But then she ultimately told me to do it, so I did it. So I think that's like a funny story. I always tell my previous boss, I'm like, "By the way, I wanted to write in my like acceptance email being like, me and my mom talked about it and we accept." Anyway, but that's the relationship I have with my mom. Thanks for that, listening to my rant. But anyway, so this is an example of how you can ask for time. So you could say, "Wow, thank you so much. I consider the job offer an honor and excited about the opportunity to work for XYZ company. In order for me to make the best possible decision, I need some time to consider the offer. When do you need a decision by?" That's an example of what you can say. Again, it doesn't sound like you're being genuine. You're excited. You just need some time. I also get the question, what if people ask me what salary you want before the offer? So sometimes people ask you in the interview process. And yes, so this is what you can do in that position. So be vague and flexible, avoid naming specific number if possible, specifically if you didn't do your research ahead of time. So be vague and flexible. But if you want to be ahead of your game, you could research what the general salary position is, and I'll show you where you can do that research. But some positions already give you the salary range on the job posting. So it's all dependent, but be vague and flexible, particularly if you actually don't know the number. And then you could say something like this: "I'm looking for a competitive salary and flexible on how to get there. I'm sure we can reach an agreement on something that works for both of us," right? Vague, but very flexible. If you have to write a number, provide a range rather than a specific number. Unless you have if you are confident and you're like, "This is the number I need to take in order to support my family, in order to live in the city," whatever it is, you can do that as well. But these are just some tips. And then again, do your research before the job interview, just in case they ask for salary before the job offer is something as part of the interview prep process. And then some strategies to negotiate: aim high, but be realistic. Use market averages to inform your ask. I recently talked to someone who was an engineer, got their master's degree. They got a job offer in California for 67, and the job level for them in that part of California, 67 might sound like a lot, especially for first gen. I'm like, "Woo, 67 sounds really nice." But like the average salary range for that position in that field was actually about $10 to $12,000 more. So he asked for $10 to $12,000 more. So again, that might seem like a lot, but it was realistic for the industry that that person was in. So other maybe like social work or other maybe asking for $10,000 isn't realistic. But again, it's all dependent on the company, the job market, the location, all of those things. So aim high, but also be realistic. And that's comes with research. And then anticipate employers' needs. So explain how your experiences in their performance goals, products, and conditions, like just consider them. So if you know, maybe you speak Vietnamese and the company that you work for has a high Vietnamese population, and there are no other folks on staff that speak Vietnamese, like you have a competitive advantage. So you have the leverage and you are in a position to advocate for more because they need someone like you in their company. Or if you are a really good salesperson and you have like the numbers to prove that you're a good salesperson, that you can increase their profit or whatever, then that's something to explain in the employer needs when you're advocating for a higher salary or for a certain type of benefit. Again, explain your contribution and benefit to the company and organization. And then highlight your skills and strengths. And then again, anticipate objections. Some people don't want to be just me and not give you what you ask for. But sometimes there are real limitations, COVID, budget, whatever it is, that might not make, they might not agree to the initial offer or initial negotiation that you give them. So talking about research, salary.com, Glassdoor, and PayScale are some places you can look for the location, job description, or the company and see the averages across the organization or company. So these are some websites to look into. So other considerations, I mentioned that negotiation can be beyond salary, and I highly encourage you to look beyond salary as well. But just consider some considerations are lifestyle. So location and cost of living is really, really important, right? Living in Seattle is very expensive, or San Francisco versus, I can't even think of another town right now, but maybe in the middle of nowhere, Arizona. So location, moving costs, work-life balance. Maybe you want to work remotely, workplace and environmental considerations, culture, company, opportunities to grow, salary and benefits package. So essentially thinking through some of the things you can negotiate. One-time costs are easier things to negotiate because they can budget it easily in their fiscal year versus like an ongoing fixed cost like a salary. So moving expenses, you can ask if you're moving across the country. One thing, this current job, I didn't negotiate my salary, but I did negotiate my start date because I wanted 2 weeks off. And then the previous job that I had was already short-staffed as it is. And so I wanted to work there for a month more and then take 2 weeks off and then start remotely. And so that's something that I negotiated out and not the salary. And so those are some things that you can negotiate. So want you all to take, when you are in this position, I want you to take the time to ask yourself, what are your needs and your wants? Where do you want to live? Do you want to move close to home? Did you want to live abroad? Did you want something different? Or whatever it is. So location, what do you want? Do you have technology needs? Maybe transportation is a really big issue. So can you negotiate like a discount on a parking pass, et cetera, et cetera. Or maybe because of COVID, you're living with your grandmother, you don't want to get her sick. Maybe you want to work remotely for an X period amount of time. Again, these are things you can negotiate depending on what's realistic. Maybe you can't work remotely if you're a nurse, right? So make a list and prioritize it is helpful once you start looking for jobs and realizing what is realistic and what is not. Again, here's some more wording to help in the negotiation process. So you can do it open-ended and indirectly. So you can say, is there flexibility in salary? You can say open-ended but direct. You can say, based on my level of experience and what I understand of the market average, and for this type of position, I'm hoping a salary range from X to X range. Or you can do close-ended and direct. Based on my level of experience and what I understand the market average to be for this type of position, I need X in order to accept this position. So this is going to be dependent on your communication style, what your need and what your needs and wants are. And then determine possible responses. So employer matches your request. Congratulations, you're done. You're like, got it. Make sure to get it in writing before signing anything. And then if employers are not flexibility and unwilling or unable to make changes, now you're going to have to make a decision. Like, do you still continue and accept this job, or do you move on to other other positions. Or an employer, this is a little bit, I think, realistic. Employers can make some adjustments of the original offer, but can't match your original request. So again, you're just going to have to make a decision based on priorities and needs and abilities and desire to compromise. And then this is a process where it can go back and forth for a little bit of going back and forth with negotiation. So it'll be up to you. I like to provide lots of examples. So here's an example, I guess like a template of how you can communicate what you would like. So you can say, this is particular, maybe like in an email, maybe someone calls you and gives you the offer and you talk in person, you're like, oh, okay, well, I had to think about it. And then you think about it and now you send an email. You can say like, thank you for sending the job offer package. Sometimes people call you or some people send you the job offer in writing on email. Offer package for XYZ position. I want to reiterate how excited I am about this opportunity. I believe that we're going to be a good fit, blah, 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 blah. And then before I accept the offer, I do want to address the proposed salary as I shared during the interview process and give your reason. I have this much experience. I have this education, whatever it is. Give a reason and how your skills and strengths would benefit the company. And then end it with, given my background, I'm seeking a salary range of this or a salary of this. I'm also open to discussing alternative compensation. You can end it like that, or you can list off the other alternative compensation. So that's an example. So other things to consider, again, wait for the employer to bring up name and salary first if possible. Do significant search on what a fair salary is in your industry. Practice and role play. You can do that with me or other folks in the Career Center. We're all trained in this, or you could just practice with a friend, or you can get on Zoom and record yourself. Sometimes I've done that. And like how your body language is, your tone of voice, etc. So practice is really important, specifically if you haven't done this before or aren't familiar with it, or the process intimidates you in general. Highlight your years of experience, industry knowledge, add value, how you will save company money, how the company will organization will benefit from you. Again, it's not always about money. Make sure you get an agreed upon salary and benefits in writing before you sign anything. Yeah, that's just something to consider and recommend. Thank you all for listening to this PowerPoint video presentation. Again, my name is Alexis Gomez. My email address is alexis.a.gomez@collegestate.edu. If you have any additional questions, or if you're in the situation and you really want to practice or have additional questions. Again, good luck for the rest of your semester and bye.